Hello and welcome to I Am Geek, and this is episode 61. We're back at it again. We've passed 60. We're going to 70, right? That's what it'll be. Yeah, that'll be the next party.
Retire soon.
Yeah, we'll get to retire soon. Not really. We're doing this forever. It's in your contract. Anyways, so we're back. I'm Ryan. I'm with my brother Chris and my good pal Katrin, or he's our good pal. You know, we're all friends here. But we have a very special guest. Now, Chris found this guest. He went deep in the vault. He's known this guest since they were wee little lads, working a projector together. Probably before that, maybe. I don't even know. We'll get into that backstory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we have Chris. Would you like to introduce or I can introduce your friend. It doesn't matter.
Oh, I can introduce him. He's probably the most talented person I know.
I know some of the same people you know, so I'm like, that's not accurate.
He's a real Renaissance man. I'd say that.
Maybe I should have introduced him. Let's start over. So, tonight on I Am Geek, we have a very special guest. And his name is Adam Ely. Say hello, Adam.
Hey guys. Hey, everyone.
Chris, you can go ahead and talk about him if you want to.
I don't know. That's fine. Okay.
I was going to list off some of his accomplishments. I'm going to lift him up, boast him up here, and he's going to feel really good about himself, and then we're just going to, just pound him and tear him down.
Wow.
That's how we do.
Make fun of it.
I'm ready.
Adam Ely is visual effects guru, we'll say that. He's done it all. He's worked on his latest installment was A Wrinkle in Time, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Downsizing, which I didn't see that one. Kong Skull Island, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Out of the Shadows, Kung Fu Panda 3, Penguins of Madagascar, something called Possum, Rise of the Guardians, Push the Boots, Global Traveler, Avatar. You worked on Avatar. And Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. And Spider-Man 3. The list goes on and on. He's worked on just about everything. Right now, I think he's with ILM, Industrial Light and Magic. A lot to discuss here. Adam, welcome. Thank you. Hopefully, I made you feel good about yourself there. About all of your accomplishments. And that's just visual effects credits. He's got producer credits. He got 2 of those.
I do.
I don't know what you produce, but I can find out because I am on IMDb that tells me everything about you.
There's POV and Best Kept Secret.
Oh.
Associate.
They're actually the same thing. They're listed on IMDb twice for some reason.
Well, welcome. Well, Adam, thank you. Like we said, you have been friends with Chris for a long time, so I'll let Chris tell us all about all the secrets, the deep dark secrets of Adam.
I don't know. I tried to introduce him. Are you sure you don't want to tell those too?
No, I was just giving you a hard time.
No, we've known each other a while. We, I think, met in art class, I believe.
Yes. What elementary school did you go to?
Well, there was King Springs.
Okay, so we didn't go to elementary.
We went to elementary school because
we went to Libertyville and Science Hill, right?
I actually didn't go to Libertyville. I went to Ashley Academy, which is
okay. Yeah, right.
He was one of those posh kids.
Yeah.
I was the older brother that had public school.
Yeah, they gave all the money to me. No, I got a scholarship. I was smart.
Nice.
That all went away. I'm not smart anymore. But yeah, no, I didn't go to Libertyville. You guys went to Libertyville. Ryan went to Libertyville. So you might have been there at the same time.
We probably were.
Yeah, I graduated Science Hill in '98.
I graduated in '96.
Okay, so you were just ahead of me a bit.
Yeah,
me and Ryan were never in high school together. Like he left and I came in.
Gotcha.
Really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and Chris, you were right behind me, I believe.
I was like pretty much right behind you. Well, there may have been a year in between us. Actually, I graduated 2000.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, I do think you're right. I think art class must have been where we met for the first time.
I think so. Mrs. Leach.
Oh,
Mrs. Leach.
Mrs. Leach. It was a nice art class.
I never had Mrs. Leach. We've talked about this before, though. I had Coach Moakler.
Hey, I had Coach Moakler too.
Man, wasn't that guy a guy?
Hey, he gave me some of the best advice that I've ever had, and it's a story that I've told a couple of classes that when I go and talk to students sometimes. It's a fun story. We can get into it later. But I had Moakler, Stannon was his name, right?
Yeah, Stannon, yeah.
Stannon, yeah.
And then like some people took band every year, and some people took whatever else you could take every year. I was like, all right, well, if they're going to do that, I'm going to take art every year. And I also took graphic arts with Mr. Eubank.
Mr. Eubank. Yeah, I did that.
Where I first started like using the computer, like, what is this Corel Draw? And
Nice.
I had Stannon as a wrestling coach.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know he did that.
Yeah. Big scruffy beard, right? Scruffy beard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Stannon was your classic sort of bohemian, hippie-ish like art teacher in high school.
They like to wrestle.
I did not know that part.
Yeah, he was one of the wrestling coaches. And Coach Moakler, yeah, he was a football coach.
Yeah. And a professional.
Yeah. He always, he always just drew pictures of half naked Arnold Schwarzenegger while we were in there. It was weird.
Yeah, we discussed that too.
Yeah. You see, you got to get this form right. But I just want to draw Spider-Man. No, you will draw Arnold Schwarzenegger in a mankini. I'm just kidding. I don't know if you like me or not. That's fine. He was a nice enough guy. Anyways, but you have a story, so I'm sure you will make him. You know him better than me.
Yeah, no, we met in art class though, and I remember Mrs. Leach loved you to death. I think you could do no wrong in her eyes. I think I actually wanted to prove that one time where I was at your house. You'd already graduated or something, and I was like, I bet you could draw anything. I could show it to her, and she'd go, "Oh, Adam, that's so Adam. That's so adorable." So I drew a pile of poop, and then had you sign your name to it, and I took her into her. And I was like,
"What?"
She's like, oh, yeah, you don't remember that?
No.
I showed it to her. And she's like, "Oh, that Adam, he's so cute."
That's amazing.
I was like, I knew it.
How funny.
Yeah, it's good.
I wish you still had that picture.
I probably still have it somewhere.
Oh.
I've kept like everything. I've kept like all my drawings.
I mean, she's her name is Renee Pitts now, and she's friends with me on Facebook. So if she's inclined to click on the link, who knows? She might hear the stories again. Like, I remember that. she has become quite the plein air painter too. She is really, really good, and she's very disciplined and is constantly posting landscapes and still lifes that she's painting. So, a little shout out to Renee Pitts there.
Yeah, she was a really good art teacher. I liked her a lot.
Well, hopefully she'll listen to this.
Yeah, she might. Mowgli might listen to it too.
Mowgli. Oh, I'm glad he's still around. Hopefully he's still teaching art. I don't know.
He's in North Carolina, South Carolina. He's in one of the Carolinas.
There was a lot of football coaches and stuff that did lots of things at Liberty Bell and Science Hill. I'm getting off track. That Mr. Dial for band, and he used to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me tell you, that's a scary dude. Like, he was the nicest guy, but when he wanted to be mad, like, he would throw erasers across the room. Like, those big erasers that were, like, the size of your head. He'd chuck them all the way across the band room, and you'd see, like, the dust just, falling as it went. It's a hardcore in Johnson City.
Mm-hmm.
They don't mess
That's
around.
from the past.
Anyways, so we could talk more about the past, but for those listeners that didn't grow up in Johnson City, we'll get back to the past. But
All
right. Can you tell us sort of what visual effects artist means, matte painter, what that really means for those that have no idea what it is?
Like Ryan.
I know what it is. You paint somebody named Matt into every scene in a movie.
Yes.
So, visual effects is putting on the film that which can't be filmed.
Gotcha.
And it encompasses like a wide array of things. So like animated characters, explosions, miniatures. Like it's a very broad term that covers a lot of disciplines. And up until a couple of weeks ago, I was in the generalist department at Industrial Light and Magic, and the generalist department evolved from the matte painting department, which is focused on environment shots and establishing shots of environments for the most part. Back during the photochemical days when everything was done on film and you didn't have computers to composite. And the classic matte shot, there was a couple of ways to do a matte painting. One was you could get a giant sheet of glass and put it in front of the camera, between the camera and the actors. And on that piece of glass, you could paint mountains and a castle from the midway section up. And so when you're filming it, you see the actors through the glass looking away, but it looks like they're looking at the castle that's painted on the glass. So that's like a kind of a quick explanation of what the glass shot was. And then there were matte shots where you would do a painting of a landscape or an environment, and you would paint a black area where you would eventually replace with a photographed element. So say you were painting a big vista that had a castle in it or whatever, you could paint out like a black splotch, in the foreground. And then later on use that black area as a matte to composite in a separately filmed element that wasn't there on, because you didn't have the painting there on the shot the day you shot the live action shot. I think I explained that correctly.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And then as visual effects evolved, that term matte painting, matte painters were using Photoshop and photography and painting with physical paints to create landscapes and digitally composite environments together. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, the technique of taking paintings and sort of projecting them onto digital 3D models started to gain a lot of traction, because you could kind of move the camera a little bit and you would see some parallax of, it didn't feel flat anymore. It was dimensionalized. And when that really became an art form, ILM changed the name of the matte painting department to the Digimat department. And this was a ILM coined term that many other companies sort of adopted in describing what they were doing. So a lot of companies still had matte painting departments or environment departments, but everyone started sharing that sort of same techniques. Like, oh yeah, we're going to project this, and it just became like a crazy just hybrid of disciplines and just trying to achieve the desired effects for whatever shot a director wanted. And then the line, so not in all cases, but in many cases, matte paintings were sort of like the background. And that line of where the background starts kept creeping closer and closer and closer and closer to the camera. And the closer you get to the camera, the more it becomes a better solution to just do everything CG. Instead of doing paintings, it's like, all right, well, let's model this building, let's texture it and light it. And that's sort of when the Digimat department evolved into what it's now called the generalist department. And the generalist department is exactly what it sounds like. And ILM is, I called it the SEAL Team 6 because they were just like filled with like amazingly smart people. And of course, there's like different strengths here and there. And my strength was definitely from that 2D world. And compositing. So there's a 3D compositing package called Nuke, and so that was my biggest comfort zone was sort of like Photoshop, Nuke, and then like kind of like light 3D modeling and positioning stuff. But the generalist department is filled with just ninjas with 3D Studio Max and Clarice of just doing just full on 3D environments that just look absolutely gorgeous. A lot of Wakanda was done by the generalist at ILM for
cool.
both Black Panther and Infinity War. So
cool.
it just
awesome.
Yeah, I would like look at people's monitors and I would just be like, "How did I get in this department?" I was just like constant. What's the term? Imposter syndrome. It's just like, oh, they're gonna figure it out. And 2 weeks ago, an opportunity. Well, several months ago, an opportunity arose, but it sort of officially happened 2 weeks ago. I've made a transition from the generalist department to the art department, which has always been like a huge a dream of mine to work for, is the Industrial Light and Magic's art department.
Cool.
Awesome.
And my one of the strengths that I'm bringing to the art department is having worked in ILM's pipeline. So I kind of know how the pieces are fed, the comp department. I kind of know how to like open up comps and rifle through, their layers. So if I need to, do a paint over or whatever. And I'm really excited for this opportunity, and it's been cool meeting some of the guys down there and like diving in. And the art department can at any facility. And I'm being super simplistic here, but you can kind of divide it into two camps or two disciplines, where you have the super pre-production stuff. So it's everything from a director's trying to pitch a movie, to a director's trying to get a movie greenlit, to the visual effects studio is trying to win a bid to get awarded work to do. So you're sort of sky's the limit. You're just doing like concept art. You're designing things, designing assets. You're doing sort of production stills. It just it's a lot of creative freedom. And then the other sort of half of the workload can be once work is awarded to a facility, there's still a lot of creative things that need to be figured out. And that could be anywhere from, the lighting department's kind of having a difficult time getting the lighting right for a shot. The director's not happy with it. It can be muddy, or like the characters aren't popping. So sometimes they'll like, well, let's send a frame to the art department, and an artist in the art department will take that into Photoshop, paint over the top of it. Like, well, the lighting could look like this, or, let's put some fog behind this character so he pops, and, let's change the value structure to try to get buy-off from the director or visual effects supervisor. So you don't continue to spend lots of money trying to like find the look and, rendering it and taking up all these resources in the render farm, that you can, pay one person to do it pretty fast, with Photoshop. And once that, that look is bought off, then you can like, all right, well, let's give it back to the lighter. And it's like, oh, here's an approved piece of art that, is your target. And they're like, oh, okay, I see that. I see what they're wanting now. And then they can try to hit that.
Cool.
And then another example would be like an asset creation. So oftentimes, the design for a robot or spaceship or creature or whatever, it's a piece of 2D art. And you're like, the director's like, yes, that's what I want. That looks awesome. Approved. And then you pass that to a 3D modeler that's got to now turn that into a 3D asset. They start to see like, it looks good. It's beautiful as a 2D piece of art, but it doesn't work as a 3D object as it spins, because you want it to look good from every angle. So there's a lot of creative artistic choices that need to be made in the translation of concept art. And I'm 100% sure that I know for a fact that you've run into this, Chris, of where, concept art shows a character in a pose that once you get the actual puppet, the actual digital rigged puppet, you're like, well, that doesn't work. It's like, well, we want you to recreate this scene in the concept art. And you're like, well, we're going to have to break the model. And, and then sometimes the directors like to break it. And, you're like, all right, you figure out ways to cheat to try to achieve. And there's compromises. And
oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of times you're treating your screen, what you see on there, as a 2D canvas because you're having to really shape stuff to get it to look like, some of that concept stuff. Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't work because like, oh, the character's got fur, so you can't really do that because then like when they render the fur on there, it's going to freak out.
Yeah.
You can't push it that far. You can't do that. All right. Well, they got to pull it back and kind of get it what it needs to look like. And then real effects. They had what they because I didn't really deal with it until I went to real effects. They call it PSDs, where they had like a program where you can go in and actually mold the characters to like what you needed it to look like, and so you're almost basically modeling in the shot. And it was keyable, so you could do it on frame to go to another frame and change it again. Did a lot of that with like the slugs and stuff and the Best Fiend shorts that we did because those were huge. Like, I mean, it's an app on the phone. It's all 2D drawings, and trying to hit those is insane.
I know that. Or go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna. I didn't work on it, but they did a lot of that on the Looney Tunes shorts that they worked on too.
Which I'm a huge fan of, by the way. Those are gorgeous.
Oh, they're great. They did an awesome job on those.
Did you work on those?
I didn't get to work on them. I wasn't there when they did them, but I know some people that did, and like, they're rock stars.
I love how faithful they are to the Chuck Jones, stretch and squash and all that stuff. Their Daffy Duck one's amazing.
Yeah. And if you looked at the model and it's just regular pose, T pose or whatever, like just nothing on it, they apparently didn't like look hardly anything like necessarily the characters in those poses, and they had to really shape them to get them to look like the cartoons.
That's amazing.
Well, I checked out your. I'll probably pronounce this wrong. Weta, is that right? Weta reel?
Yeah.
That's some cool stuff, man.
Thanks.
It's cool how that comes together. You can find it on Reddit. It's on there if you guys want to find it. But so have you had any? I'm changing subjects. That's what I do. Any favorite projects you've worked on?
Oh man,
because you've had so many that are like big time blockbusters. I'm sure it's hard to pick something. Yeah,
and some of the ones that don't appear on IMDb, I've worked on a number of theme park rides.
Oh, cool.
And those have been, in some cases, like super challenging, kind of like super rewarding, and just in the deliverable. I've worked on after the King Kong ride burned. The original King Kong ride at Universal was lost in a fire. They redid a new one. I got to work on that one.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
I got to work on the update to Mission Space at Epcot that came out last year.
Oh, cool.
Year before last year. So there's two versions of that, right? There's the green version and the orange version.
Yeah.
And I got to work on the orange version. And that was like personally very challenging for me, and really pushed me. And I'm super excited with how it turned out. And it's crazy to watch people like film it with their cell phone, post it on YouTube, And it's also mind-boggling to think that right now, as we're talking, it's running. It is like someone's riding it, someone's like on it. It's insane. And then there's a new Jimmy Fallon race through New York that's at Universal Studios, and that was an ILM project as well. And ILM's done several rides. One I would love to go to Shanghai just to see in person. I believe it's Shanghai Disney, but it's the Pirates of the Caribbean right there.
Yeah.
I've seen the videos.
Oh my gosh.
For
It looks amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to go there.
Favorite projects? It's funny. Some of the earlier ones, like the first company I ever worked for was a company here in San Francisco called Giant Killer Robots. And it was a smaller scale visual effects studio. And with that, there was something about, the sort of family vibe. And it was a big open space. And it was like my first experience. And it's just, I have a lot of fond memories of just like, not necessarily like the greatest films, like the films I watch over and over again or anything. But it was just really memorable and kind of like fond remembering that. And then working at Weta, I'd always wanted to live abroad and getting like the New Zealand experience. It's like when I see those films now, I just don't see those films. I see like it all comes back to me of like, oh my gosh, driving on the left side of the road and all the food and the sights and the friends I made down there.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody chooses to work in the movie industry, you're going to work on bad movies because most movies are bad movies.
Yeah.
And so it's like every day it's just like you find fun in the work and sometimes you're working on something and you're like, I don't know if this is going to be good or not. It's like, I don't know how this is going to be received.
Chris has had a lot of those.
Yeah. So when I first saw like Romeo and Juliet, I didn't work on that one. I saw it. I was like, I don't want to watch this. And my wife really wanted to watch it. I was like, okay, we'll watch it. And it's not that like the animation was bad or anything. It's just, to me, just like I didn't like the movie. Nothing personal. Anyone worked on it. I was like, I was just like, okay, well, I didn't work on it. Okay. And then Sherlock Gnomes came to our studio, and I worked on the sequel to that movie, and I was like, oh. I've got to work on the sequel. I haven't seen it yet. I've been told it's actually not that bad. It's actually pretty fun.
It's fun. I've heard positive things myself.
So I will watch it one day. I just couldn't. I don't know.
So you did get to work on Avatar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you got to go to Pandora at Animal Kingdom?
That is on my list. Last time I was down there, they were building it, so I just saw the rocks, from the outside. But I was behind the fence. I couldn't get close to it. I have seen it on YouTube. Someone's filmed.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind. I'm just.
It is cool. I was there last week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've been a couple times to it, and it's amazing. Like personally, I wasn't a big Avatar movie fan. Visually, it was stunning, but story-wise,
you got more coming.
Yeah, I know. But so when you could go back in the shows and listen, and I was like, yeah, Avatar Land's coming. I'm sure that's going to be great. Like, giving it a hard time. And then I went, and I was like totally blown away by it. It was like you were there on a different planet. It was just amazing. So I'd be interested to see somebody who worked on it, who worked on, because from what I saw in sort of your reel, it looks like you worked on the backgrounds and what you would think of it in real life, like when you go to it, what your opinion of it would be. But yeah, it's something to behold, especially at nighttime.
What the Disney Imagineers do, in conjunction with the visual effects studios and those rides. I'm a big Disney fan, and it's just the attention to detail and like all the little things that just when you're waiting in the queue to get on the ride now, they're so immersive. They're like such Easter eggs hidden, it's truly amazing. And it's been some of the experience I've had working on some theme park rides, just the back and forth and hearing like what decisions are made and why, we need to make this change versus this change. And, they're thinking about like the heights of, kids, the heights of adults. They're thinking about, special needs people that need more time getting on and off rides. It's really cool. They have that down to a science of like how to make, a pleasant experience and move people through a space like every day, repeated. Just I'm in awe of it. Actually, I'm just like, wow, like these are jobs that people do, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, they did a great job with especially Flight of Passage. One of the best rides out there.
Yeah, I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, you'll love it. You'll love it. What was I going to say? That's all I have for you. Well,
Great show.
I was hoping you'd already been there, so.
That was going to be the whole rest of the show.
Yeah, that's the show.
Now, I do remember, I think you told me this, I'm pretty sure, the Sharknado.
Yes.
You made a shark that was in Sharknado.
That is correct. It's the highlight of my career. I'm so excited for that.
That was what you were going to say when, like, he asked you what was the best thing that you can remember. That was the shark in Sharknado.
Yeah, the way that story goes is I went to grad school at the Academy of Art in San Francisco, and I took an organic ZBrush modeling class, and in that class for homework, I modeled a mako shark. And I was really proud of it. I'm a big stickler on like, it's got to be anatomically correct. And it was just a fun, I think it's a really cool looking animal. And, I'm not there's people out there that can like model circles around me, but I was really proud of the shark. And I posted it on an old blog that I'd had, like, here's my mako shark. And I ended up getting it 3D printed at one point. And this was in 2005, I believe. And in 2013 or 14, and this is after the first Sharknado. And, they've announced, like, Sharknado 2 is coming. I got an email one day and opened it up, and it was just like, hey, I'm such and such. I'm the visual effects supervisor on this like low budget film named Sharknado 2. And he was like, I came across a model of a shark you did and had a couple questions. A, is it for sale? B, is it rigged? And do you have textures for it? And, no worries if not. And I couldn't believe it. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I emailed him back immediately, and I was just like, dude, you can have it. I was like, hey, it's not textured, it's not rigged, so you got to do some work. But I was just like, I'll dig it up, I'll find it, I'll send it to you. I was like, that's just great. That just like made my day. And I said, just if you can, give me a credit. It's the most specific credit I have ever received. To be honest with you, I've never seen Sharknado 2, but I've seen some shots that have that shark in it because I can recognize it. It's one of the more realistic looking sharks because Yeah, I look at it and I'm like, that's not what a shark looks like. And then I see mine go by. And I'm like, yeah, that's a shark. And but the credit is Mako Shark modeled by. That is my credit in Sharknado 2. I was like, man, that is very specific.
That's
So
cool.
yeah,
And it's
so
crazy how somebody could find that, like those all those years later. They're like, they find your shark.
Yeah,
he must have just Googled like 3D sharks and
like, I got no money. I gotta find some sharks.
You should have said,
hey,
my only
to his credit.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to his credit, he was offering to pay for it. He wasn't just looking for free stuff.
Oh yeah, no.
You should have told him you just wanted to be Hasselhoff. Like, just give me a one-on-one with Hasselhoff, and we got a deal.
If Hasselhoff brings me a cup of coffee, you can have it. That's what happened in Deadpool 2 with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's like, I'll be in it, but Ryan Reynolds has to bring me coffee. And Ryan Reynolds bring him coffee.
He's like, what's this? He's like, I said that? Oh.
Oh man. So okay, do we want to dive into Last Jedi, or do we want to save that? I don't want to depress everybody.
Sure.
So let's just start with what. I guess you could tell us. I mean, what all did you work on in Last Jedi? Like, if people are watching the movie, what will they see?
So I came on board towards the end of production on that one, as sort of like helping the generalist department, drive it to the finish line. There's a couple of shots in the crate battle at the end where I got to do some matte painting skies and some sort of, sometimes when something's CG, it'll have that curse of CG. And like, my job was like, hey, can you Photoshop some like rock textures over the top of that, so it doesn't, to try to get that CG curse off of it. And it's like, oh yeah, just sort of like touching up things here and there. There's one shot of when the rebel resistance fighters are inside the base.
Yeah.
There was like a big door, that was like the entrance to it. The inside of that door was sort of designed late in the game, and the look of it, they varied a little bit from what they had on set. So I got to kind of fill in that door. It's like out of focus behind, the characters, and it's the invisible effects,
Yeah.
So I got to do a little bit of that. And then on Canto Bight, the casino planet, there's a shot of Rose and Finn. They're riding on the backs of the Fathiers, and they're like on the beach, like running across the beach. So there's like the camera is trucking along with them, so you see like the sand like flying by the bottom of the screen. The waves are crashing, the ocean goes out, and there's 2 moons in the sky. And I got to do the matte painting of that sky.
Cool.
There was very specific like art direction work. It's like, oh, here's what was approved, and I was just like, okay, well, it's like low res JPEG, and I've got to kind of recreate that in enough high dynamic range information that the compositors can push and pull it in the shot. But this is a little thing that I'm really excited. There's 2 little nerdy stories. Actually, I'm really excited to share this.
Oh, go ahead.
They wanted air traffic in that sky in that shot, and they didn't want to get an animator to bring in an asset and animate, because it's so far out, it's just going to be like a couple of lights. And so I literally in Photoshop just made a couple little lights like way out there on the horizon. There's 2 at the bottom of the screen, and I think there's 1 higher up on screen right. And in Nuke, I just sort of like animated them just dragging just a little bit. So there's some air traffic in those shots that So I can officially say it's like I made some spaceships in Star Wars.
That's cool.
That's
They're
great.
literally just like little pings of light.
You're
And
an
then-
animator now. Yeah.
They better watch out. The other fun story is there's a shot after Kylo Ren and the First Order. They use a battling ram miniaturized laser thing to blow a hole in the door, and it's from the cockpit of Kylo Ren's command shuttle, and you're kind of looking down on the battlefield, and it's all this like red stuff and like red marks, and there's TIE fighters kind of like scattered about, and this was one where they were like, all right, the CG got us so far, and we don't want to spend the money and like having someone like do crazy modeling detail. Can you just paint in some beef up the sort of battle damage of the battlefield there? And I was like, yeah, that's cool. And one of the notes I got was the First Order TIE fighters are black with white panels in their like hexagon solar array things. And so like the white triangles were really like popping, and they're like, can you put some battle damage on that? And the second they said, put some battle damage on that, it took me back to when I was a kid, and one of the first Star Wars toys I got was a Return of the Jedi TIE fighter. And the Return of the Jedi version of the TIE fighter that Kenner made came with battle damage stickers.
Yes, I remember those.
Like it was like a sheet of like little burn marks.
Yep.
And you could peel them off and put them on the fins. And so I was just like, we live in the future. Someone's put this on the internet. And I just Googled the battle damage stickers, Kenner stickers, and sure enough, there was someone scanned them in there. And I did not have to do this, but I was just like, I've been training my whole life for this shot. So I went into Photoshop and I cut out the little stickers, and then of course I had to scale them way down to where they're like you can't even see it in the movie. It's like it just looks like it's detail lost out there. But I went through the process and like stuck those on there, as my starting point of putting like little burn marks and airbrushing stuff on those panels of that render. So that's
cool.
That was something that I was bored one day, and I went really nerdy, and I was just like, I'm going to do this.
That's great.
That's an Easter egg right there.
Yeah. I love stuff like that. Yeah, especially if you got like a big old fan working on something that they grew up with. Like, they put stuff in there like that. Like, you constantly do that. It's so fun.
And to exactly what you just said there, the internet is filled with people being like, why are they ruining things? Why didn't they design it this way? What's the deal with that color of the costume? There are people like me and Chris. There's a whole army of us, and we are fighting. We are putting up the good fight. Like when we go to the cafeteria for lunch, we're just like, oh man, it's just like we are doing what we know we all want to see, and it's just there's so many gatekeepers, to get through.
Yeah.
And it's like you can only do so much, and that as they, and so sometimes they're good reasons, like directors and it's like, well, it's like it works better as a story point this way or shot this way, but there's a lot of us out there that are putting up the good fight.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people trying to this is off this sort of a side note, but campaigning to remake their Last Jedi. Have you seen this?
That's just
Isn't that crazy?
It doesn't surprise me one bit, but
and Ryan Johnson has given them the go ahead. He's like, yeah, go ahead.
I saw that tweet today. He was like, please let this happen. Yeah, it's the whole sort of like interaction of fans with filmmakers today it's very fascinating. Like Well, for the record, you guys know this because we mentioned it right before we started. But I'm a Last Jedi fan.
Good
just
night,
so people
everybody.
know that.
We won't hold that against you.
No, we won't. We know you have to be. It's in your contract.
I love this movie so much.
Crap, man, what was I about to say?
You're a fan of Last Jedi.
Yeah, but right before that was
that
there's you're a fan of it, and that it's wrong that you're a fan of it, but it's okay.
Oh, I know what I was saying. I was thinking about like, were the internet and social media to be as intact as it is today, but in 1980, like some of the things that we hold so precious, like I think a lot of stuff is unfairly scrutinized and talked about and judged. A lot of people were unhappy with Empire Strikes Back when it first came out. Like before there was ever a Return of the Jedi, like people came out of Empire Strikes Back and they're like, "Are you kidding me?" Like that. And the same goes with like a lot of films, like E.T. Like, what do you mean he left? You know, and spoiler alert.
What?
It's fascinating to go back and think about some of the movies that we really love from our childhood and what the reception would have been like if that sort of very, very, very vocal group had as much airtime as they do now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It makes
we
sense.
talk about it a lot at work, you know.
That'd be interesting because I mean, there's a lot of movies we grew up with, and like you watch them now, like they don't hold up. Like you loved it then, but like you watch it now, like, oh gosh, what was I thinking?
Flight of the Navigator.
Hey, it makes a very good Coke stand at Magic Kingdom. That's one of the ships is from the movie is a Coke stand at Magic Kingdom. I don't know if you knew that. It's painted red. Looks like it's got the Coke logo on it, but it's the actual ship from the movie, Flight of the Navigator. It's in Tomorrowland. Anyway, sorry. I'm a geek.
It's fine. But no, yeah, that would be interesting.
I'm holding out ultimate judgment on Last Jedi until the next movie comes out and you have the trilogy.
Yes,
but
I think that's a good attitude to have.
But right now, Last Jedi is the only Star Wars movie that I have not gone out and bought to have in my collection. So it may change. But it is coming on Netflix, so I'll probably watch it for free on Netflix again. But I don't know, it just...
Yeah, I'll probably have to watch it again because I want to see the lights that you animated in the back.
I want to see that. Like, visually, I loved it. Visually, I loved it. There was just
like the
stuff that you had no control over that I just didn't like.
The Red Guard fight scene was like awesome.
Yeah,
I loved that.
Except where the missing weapon happens and all that stuff. But that's geeky. We don't have to get into that. There's a scene where there's a guy, one of the guards is about that could kill her, and then the next thing they're like, never mind, that weapon's not there, so he can't kill her. And it's like,
you don't really notice that. But,
anyways,
so my major thing with it was it was a movie based on the slowest LA car chase you've ever seen.
Yeah,
like you're going in one direction. This is space.
with the side of random
that was
Canto Bight.
Yeah. No, it's again. I think everyone's got valid, point. There are things about it that it's not my favorite Star Wars movie, and there's definitely things in it that I'm sort of like, well, it's like I'm a big Legacy fan, and one of the greatest moments for me in the film is the Holdo Holdor, Laura Dern's character.
Yeah.
Holden.
Oh, yeah.
Holden.
Yeah, like her maneuver thing. Like I love that. I know people argue like, well, if you can do that, this, that, and the other and stuff. I've got my sort of like, Star Wars role playing spin on why you can't always do that. And but all that being said, like I was fine with her character. I have nothing against her character, but I really wish Admiral Akbar had done that.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I love the little moment that they've given Admiral Akbar in the comic books that just came out like last week or something.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
It's like you get his last words in the comic book,
Nice.
and I'm like, that was cool. Like, I wish that was in the film, but
it's a wrap.
that would. Well, now it's the second best thing I've heard. Like, that was. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a wrap. Oh my gosh, it's genius.
Oh, and the Tauntaun should have been on Canto Bight. I think that should have been the creatures racing. Yeah, instead of those weird creatures that nobody knows anything about.
Yeah, but those weird creatures are supposed to be like one of the fastest creatures in the. And it's like, and that's something else. Like, I love Star Wars having connective tissue. Like, I want more of it. That's why I love Solo.
Oh, I
like
love Solo too. Yeah,
it's the type of Star Wars movie I want more of, and it saddens me that it's making money. It's out there, but I know it's
well, the news
what's hot in the news. It's like, oh, it's a disappointment. Oh, it didn't meet expectations and stuff.
Well, the news today is that all the other Star Wars story movies have been put on hold.
I saw that, but I also saw something like ABC was reporting that like people were saying that that's not true. So the ones still going are still on. So
it's on the internet.
Who knows?
So
it's on.
Yeah, it's on the internet.
It must be true.
It must be true.
We can ask Adam if we want to get him really in trouble, but we won't.
Adam. So, have you heard anything about Obi-Wan?
I haven't heard. Honestly, I haven't heard anything. And I was asking a guy at work a little bit about the news, and I think Lucasfilm said something on the internet today about it. But if it's not been officially announced by Lucasfilm, like it's not an official thing at all.
Yeah.
And I believe the only official things that have been announced is the Game of Thrones guys are doing a trilogy.
Yeah,
right?
That's been announced. Yeah.
Rian Johnson is developing a trilogy.
Yeah, whatever.
And then of course J.J. Abrams is doing 9.
Yeah.
And then there's the Resistance, the animated series that's been announced.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it. And
I
to
thought
the best
there
of
was
my
a
knowledge,
director.
that's all
I thought there was a director announced for
John
a Fett movie.
John Favreau was going to do something too.
He's doing.
That's right. It's right. The TV stuff.
He's doing a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's rumors about the Obi-Wan, which I really want. That's the one I want. With Ewan McGregor. Only if it's Ewan McGregor. If it's not Ewan McGregor, then I don't care. I want to see him one more time as Obi-Wan. Just one more time.
I would like that. I would like that too.
That would be awesome. And I'd be good with the Boba Fett. Because especially the James Mangold, the director of Logan, was supposedly in the running for the Boba Fett movie.
That'd be cool.
And I think he could do a good Boba Fett movie.
Yeah, but I love Solo. Solo was great. I saw it twice.
Well,
because the first time I fell asleep. Yeah. But it wasn't because of the movie. It was because of everything going on that day.
Yeah,
we were tired.
Yeah, that was the weekend we were at a comic book convention, Comic Palooza, and we all went to see it. And I stayed awake. But these two guys kind of drifted off a little bit because it was a long day and they're old.
And it was comfy chairs, recliners. and
Very comfy
food.
chairs and food. I get it.
People bring food to you. Man, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Who wouldn't fall asleep? Well, apparently you didn't.
I didn't.
Chris is a cyborg. So let's before we jump to some other stuff, there's a question that was asked on Facebook
Oh,
All right, let's hear it.
that we have to. It's from Ben Davenport. If you're listening, Ben, hey, thanks for listening.
thanks for listening.
If not, then hey, you should be listening. Anyways, how did reel-to-reel movie theater change your life or lives? Both of you can answer. This is the movie theater that you guys worked at in Johnson City. Not the nicest of movie theaters, I would venture to say, but a movie theater. This was before they didn't have stadium seating. They didn't have all the fancy stuff that we have today. It's just the run-of-the-mill, small town,
Family-owned
movie theater. And you guys both worked there, and I'm sure it's changed your life somehow. And I'm sure you have some stories probably. And feel free, Adam, just tell us all the dirt on all the deep, dark secrets on Chris. Just lay it out there.
I do have one of the funniest things, the hardest I've ever laughed, where I thought I was going to die because I couldn't breathe, happened at Reel to Reel. But before I tell that story, did you also work at Carmike Cinemas?
Yeah,
Chris?
we were both there as well. We were there
Okay.
when episode 1 came out.
Moving on up in the
So-
world.
So Carmike Cinemas was the chain theater in our hometown, and Reel to Reel was the smaller family-owned theater. And we were at Carmike Cinemas, and that was like you had to wear the vest and the bow tie, and it was.
Yeah.
When we were there, it was an 8-plex, and they ended up closing to remodel it and make it a 14-plex, which I have huge beefs against. That theater was way better before they.
Yeah, and I
those.
actually worked there during the construction, like helping to clean stuff out. Like,
Oh, really?
so, yeah, like because was it Ted and
Yeah, Ted, which he's going to be in the story I tell about Reel to Reel.
and I can't remember Brad. Was it Brad?
Brad Ellis, the manager.
Yeah. They had contacted me and was like, hey, you want like some summer work or whatever? And me and another guy went in there, and I don't do physical labor.
No, he doesn't. He does not.
You're an animator.
I'm an
Say
animator.
that.
I sit at the computer desk. That was like the hardest job I ever had to do. That was just like moving just junk and cleaning stuff out of place. And I was like,
I think me and Josh passed on that offer. We're like, no, and they're like, well, who do we got next? And they're like, yes, that's Chris.
yeah, it was me. I wanted the money, I guess.
Could have done other things with that kind of offer.
Mm-hmm.
So once they closed the remodel, that's when we kind of like migrated over to Reel, because we had that sweet theater experience, and they were like people who know how things are done. So like I've always been to first answer the question of like how did it prepare me for. What was the question again?
It said, how did it change your life?
How did it change?
I think it was a joke, but go ahead.
No. It's like, so Carmike Cinemas was the first job I ever got. I got it when I was 16. And, I started out in the concession stand. But I was such a fan and lover of movies. And I took it seriously. And I just respected it. It's like there's a ton of teenagers. I'm sure there's a ton of jobs that I had that I didn't really care about later on. That I was just like, man, I don't care if I'm late today. This, that, and the other. But it was like working at the theater was just like, it's like I can't be late. I got to go now. And I just like stayed on my schedule. And I ended up, like Chris, becoming a projectionist. And when I was like 17 or something, just like keeping that schedule. Maintaining like 8 movies running, and as they all get out, like cleaning them and then getting them all, all the film spliced back together, and then sort of having that responsibility of like, there's a lot of people watching, a movie that was made by a ton of people, and making sure it's like, well, I want it to be in focus, and then like going back and just like trying to make sure that like the presentation was as best as it could be, which is something that is sorely missing in so many theaters in America. It really saddens me. Solo is a dark movie, like cinematography wise. It's beautiful, but it is dark, and there's so many theaters out there that are running projector bulbs that are like running at 60 to 70% brightness, and for a movie that's dark, it just ruins it. I'm like, it's if you want to make, like, theaters need to get on it to get to where people. I'm having a minor stroke here. What TVs today are just so gorgeous that it's hard to compete, when you go to the theater sometimes with the quality that you have on your, flat screen TVs at home. And they really need to, stay on it. But I digress. Anyways, it was that sort of attention to, quality that carried over into, films where, you're just like, you want it to be the best, that it can be for the viewer, and for the property. So that's my lame answer on why working at a movie theater when I was a teenager.
Now to the funny, juicy stories.
The funny, juicy stories. I love this. So this is the Carmike story. This is like before the internet was around, but it was like really hard to download videos, and everything was like dial up. But I was working, I think, fall of 1998, or maybe it may have been like early 1999. But it was like a Wednesday, and barely anybody was at the theater. And sometimes, like, if no one showed up, we just wouldn't start the movie. We'd be like, oh, all right, so we're not starting it because like no one showed up. And the U-Haul truck, pulled up to the front of the theater, and the guy got out and he had like a little box and signed for it. And I was just like, ooh, what's this? And I like cut it open. And it was the trailer to episode 1, Star Wars episode 1.
I think I remember that.
And I flipped out. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is it. And I asked whoever was working in the box office. I want to say it was She's All That. I was just like, did She's All That sell a ticket? Because it was like real late in its run and no one was coming to see it.
Like, nope.
I was like, please, like, discourage people from seeing that movie. I don't think anybody bought a ticket, but so that movie didn't sell for that showing. And I ran up to like the booth, and I spliced a Roland Emmerich's Godzilla trailer. We had it up there, and I needed something that I could start the projector and make sure it was in focus before running downstairs so I could witness the trailer in the theater. And so I took the Godzilla trailer and spliced it to the beginning of the Star Wars trailer, and made a reel that I could then thread to the projector, fire it up, make sure it's in focus, and then like run downstairs, like almost in the front. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that perk and having that the control to be able to do that, and in a time before like trailers dropped and on YouTube we can just like pull it up, and being like such a big Star Wars fan and the hype that was behind that particular movie, and this is a world before we knew what was in store for us in that movie. and like the opening shot was just the fog, and the Gungans were on the back of the Cadoos, and they had like feathers, and they were just sort of like walking out of the fog. And it had like the bit of John Williams like underscoring it, and it just blew my little mind. I was just like, oh my god! And then the big Star Wars theme like kicks in, and with the pod race, it was just magical. It was just like, it was an insane experience that I will never have again. And I instantly like ran back, threaded it up, started, got the Godzilla trailer in focus, ran back down, had to suffer through the Godzilla trailer again, so that's a little Star Wars story when it comes to
Chris
the
gave me. I still have it somewhere. I think it was episode 3's trailer, teaser trailer.
Yeah,
it's the one with Darth Vader's like rising.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I still got it around here somewhere.
I forget what this one is. I've got something here. I forget what this is.
Chris stole a lot of movies and trailers and stuff.
I just got it lying around. No, this is after. A friend of mine got this for me. Yeah, this was X-Men First Class. My X-Men movie that I worked on.
It's worked on, yeah.
Gave me the trailer for that.
Do you have any shots in that trailer?
I probably do. Like, I think if you any of her wings, Angel's wings.
Okay.
You see, pretty much, like I made her flight cycle that people populated stuff. But yeah, no, I've got some like Lord of the Rings trailers somewhere. Yeah, all kinds of stuff like that.
Worth millions of dollars.
But I remember, when because we were both working at Carmike when episode 1 came out,
Right.
And we weren't allowed to watch it the night before. I don't believe. Because I don't think Lucasfilm like wanted people to do that, because a lot of times.
Yeah, I remember they were strict about that.
Yeah, because a lot of times people work at theaters, like they would do like an employee showing like the night before, like a midnight showing that we could watch the movie before it came out the next day. So yeah, I think
no way for them to enforce that either.
No, it's not. But yeah, they didn't do it. They wouldn't show it. And yeah, I think all the next day and everything before we could see it, we're like trying to avoid it so we didn't see anything.
Yeah.
But then anytime the duel with Darth Maul came on, I think you would rush down to the theater and watch it. Because I would do that too. And come out. And I
just
think
be two creepy guys standing in the back.
But, and I think we because we had the little brooms that we'd go and clean up with. And I think it was me and you and someone else. I can't remember who else it was. Maybe it was Josh. I don't know. We reenacted the scene, like in the lobby when everybody was in the theater one time.
We were such dorks.
Yeah, we were.
You're the original Star Wars broom guys.
That's right. Thank goodness we grew up before social media.
Yeah. Thank goodness no one had a camera on their phone.
We dodged a bullet, my friend.
Yes, we did.
Oh man, I saw it in some. I'm pretty sure I saw it on vacation. I think we were in Outer Banks or somewhere. Maybe you weren't with us.
You might have been.
It was some rinky-dink little scary theater, and it was like just a one-room theater, and it was.
Yeah,
there it was.
You guys would constantly go on vacation and leave me at home, so.
Well,
probably doing that.
That's how we roll.
When that film came out, I was still starstruck by. I was still easily entertained by just the quality of good visual effects.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I can remember just being because that was like my jam, like following the trades, like reading Cinefex of how this stuff was done. There was countless viewings of episode 1 that just on a sheer scale of its effects, it held my attention, it entertained me, I think, far more than it entertained a lot of other people who were just like wanting a movie.
Yeah.
I can still respect like good visual effects, but that won't get me in a theater anymore. I won't go see a movie just because there's so much good work out there now. You know? And I'm like, well.
So you said you had a story that probably the funniest thing that you've ever witnessed.
Oh yeah, the real story. So this is working at the local theater or the family owned theater, and it was like a slow night or something, and the layout of this theater was such that like the box office and the concession stand were very, very, very close to each other, and it only had 4 screens. I think they split one down the center and it became a 5-screen place. But it was just quiet, like while the movies were running. You know, people would do like homework or just sort of like, you know, chill and chat. And there was like an explosion all of a sudden, like a really loud bang, and then just like the most shrill whistle I'd ever heard, like just ear piercing, to the point where people were coming out of the movie theater to see like what is that noise? What's happening out here? And it was me, my best friend Josh, and another guy, Ted Overbay, which you know, Chris.
Yeah.
And we were like working that night. And what had happened was the CO2 tank behind the concession stand, the top had blown off of it. And there was a huge plume of white smoke or white CO2 just like shooting out of the top of it. And it kind of caught us all off guard, but the daughter of the owner, and she was the manager, Vicky, ran from the box office behind the concession stand to this giant CO2 tank thing. And she was like positioning herself like over it, like trying to figure out like, can I turn this off? But like all her hair was like blowing straight up. She was in this like white plume, right? And there was nothing she could do, but we were just sort of like staring at her. And it eventually, all the CO2 evacuated from the tank, and you know the sound stopped. And Ted, he looked at me and Josh, and he goes, "Ship out of danger," and he's quoting Wrath of Khan. And the second he said that, me and Josh saw the scene of Spock when he's over the dilithium crystal, and that like CO2 is like blowing up in his face, and it was like so perfect. It was so perfect. Like that is what we saw, and like, we could not stop laughing. It was just his delivery. He was giving it to the 2 guys that knew exactly what he was talking about. It was like an unspoken geek nerd moment of just like what we all saw in our mind's eye. And we were just hee-hawing. And I remember Vicky being so pissed at us. Like, angry. Like, she had no idea why we were laughing so hard. And oh my gosh, it was just like, to this day, that is like one of the funniest, just, you just had to know the reference. You just had to be there. Oh gosh, it was so perfect.
Awesome.
So perfect. Ship out of danger. Oh gosh.
Oh man. Well, we're at hour 13. This is, time flies. We can keep talking. I don't care. But we haven't even got to ETSU days, because we all went to ETSU. Everybody right now on this podcast, graduates.
For legal purposes, yes. We all went to ETSU.
Well, we all did go to ETSU.
Yes, I went there. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, we did. We all went to ETSU.
So we need to send this episode to East Tennessee State and be like, "Hey, you need to promote this episode because this is all your alumni." Give you so much money.
You know, for the people that's listening, like we're all from Northeast Tennessee, and like Jurassic Park was like a huge inspiration for me when I was in high school. It came out in like the summer before I started high school. And when I saw that, I was so enamored. I liked art and I liked building models, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to do. I want to like work on, like films. But I was terrified of computers, and working in CG was the furthest thing from my mind. What I could wrap my brain around was the animatronics. I understood it. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's like there's a sculptor, he sculpts it, and then they make molds, and there's a painter that paints the scales, and then there's like a whole engineering crew that's like making the armatures that are puppeted underneath them, and then there's even more low tech ones, which are like hand puppets. I love that stuff, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. And then when I was getting to the end of high school, I was just like, should I be finding an art school to go to? Like, what should I do? And to my mom's credit, I remember she one day was just like, hey, did you hear that they got the Jurassic Park computers at East Tennessee State University? And it was that way that, you're like, when a parent is trying to be involved in what your kid likes, and I'm like, oh, that's sweet, Mom. Thanks for, taking an interest in what I'm interested in. But I don't think they have Jurassic Park computers at East and I just didn't believe her. And she was like, no, I heard, I don't know where she heard it from. She's like, no, I think I read about it and stuff. And she arranged a meeting. I think I was in 11th grade at the time in high school. She arranged a meeting with the people who were running the department at the time. It was a guy named Neil Owens and Jeff Morris. And I may be remembering this incorrectly, but before the 3D package Maya, it was called Alias Wavefront.
Yes.
And I think somebody on the board at the school was on the board of Alias Wavefront. He donated a number of Silicon graphics machines and licenses of Alias Wavefront to the school. And the art department turned it down, which I don't know why. But the engineering department ended up saying, oh yeah, we have CAD, we kind of understand computers, we'll ingest this. And in the mid 90s, they were one of 13 schools accredited to teach Alias Wavefront in the 90s. And I remember going into this room, the AVL lab, they used to call it, and on everyone's monitors, it looked like the behind the scenes features that I'd seen, of Jurassic Park. People were working in wireframes, and it was like super exotic to me. It's just like, oh my gosh, and they're like rotating things in 3D, and the only experience I had manipulating anything in 3D was Mario from N64, and that was magic. That was only like that was 96, I believe, and I was just spellbound. And I had a huge fear of like the math and the computers. And I was just like, I don't know, because I was more like pencil paper and models and rockets and stuff. And I had a little portfolio of the stuff I'd done in high school, and Neil and Jeff were like super kind. They were flipping through it. And I kind of told them, I was just like, yeah, it's like I'm a big fan of the animatronics. I don't know if I'd be good with computers and stuff. And they told me, they were like, in 10 years, everything is going to be done this way, like everything. And they were like, you don't be afraid of it. It's just a tool. It's just like any other tool. You can learn to use it. And whatever strengths that you have in drawing and stuff, you can bring that to this once you learn how to paint with this new tool. And then it being in my hometown, and then I guess trepidations of like leaving and getting out on my own and stuff, it felt like a sign, I guess. I was just like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Okay, I guess I'll do this. It was still a time in my life where I was kind of going with the flow of it's like, oh, I finished middle school, I guess I have to go to high school now, and it was like, I finished high school, I guess I have to go to college now. And like honestly believing I would ever work on like real properties of video games or movies or anything still seemed so out of reach, even though this program was there. People were leaving there and getting cool jobs, like working for the National Transportation Safety Board, like recreating train accidents and plane accidents in 3D, and there was a lot of product design people that were going into like shoe design, and there were a couple of people that were getting into the gaming stuff, and I was like, oh, this is cool, maybe it could like lead to something there. But I just sort of feel fortunate that popped up in my hometown.
Yeah.
And the friends I made in that department in that school started to fan out when they graduated, like all around the country and in the world in some cases. And keeping in touch with them, like what are you doing? Like what's going on out there? And something I tell students when I speak with them is networking is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And not in that sleazy way of like, it's like, oh, I'm going to network, because it's how you get jobs and stuff, but just like being like forging good friendships and like being there for classmates and like if you figure something out and someone's struggling with it, like helping them, or vice versa. Like I constantly ask questions all the time. Like how did you do that? What's the best approach for this?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like those little relationships like last, and then people fan out, finish contracts, go to other places, and it's like all of a sudden the company they're working for, the company I'm working for, is like, we need extra help on this. Do you know anybody? And they're basically asking like, do you know anybody that's a cool person that's like would be easy to work with? That's mm-hmm. not a jerk. And it's like, oh yeah, this person's great. They play well in the sandbox. It's like we already have a shorthand, and it's something that I guess boiling it down, just be a good human being.
I've learned that. I've told like students and newcomers like that before. Like that was like one of the first things I learned when I got in the industry. Like it's a small industry, and
so small.
And the people in charge, if they're like, okay, you got two choices. You got this guy over here, great person. Great person. Pretty good animator, but really good. Takes notes great. He won't argue with you. Then you got this other person here, awesome animator, but he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Who are you going to want to work with? You're going to want to work with the guy that can still get the job done, but he's a great person, or they're a great person. And yes, I mean it's I can't say that enough to people.
Yeah.
Coming into this.
Don't be a jerk.
Be nice to people. So not to backtrack and be silly, but I remember when they announced that they had the computers from Jurassic Park, and because you didn't have the social media and you didn't have all the knowing everything, so when I heard the news, I was like, oh man, part of Jurassic Park was made at East Tennessee State University. That's amazing.
See, that's how I remember it too.
Yeah, like part of the movie was made here.
Yeah, because I started in '96 at ETSU, and I remember taking a tour. I was in computer science, and they showed us part of that, and I remember that's what I remember from it. Is like they made part of the movie or whatever, or some movie. I don't remember if it was Jurassic Park that I remember, but it was something. It's like, yeah, this system they're making movies here.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
Wow.
Well, there you go.
Awesome.
We're dummies.
You never know. Sometimes people giving tours, like they may very well have said that.
Yeah,
part of Jurassic Park was made here, and it's like a telephone game training.
Yeah.
They're like, really? All right.
We keep a dinosaur out back.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. Like you were talking about the animatronics and stuff they did for that. Right now on Instagram, Stan Winston Studios is posting a lot of behind the scenes stuff from that first movie because it's like the anniversary and everything. They've been posting a lot of the behind the scenes stuff of them making the suits for the people in the Raptor suits and walking around in it like the first time and everything. There's a lot of cool stuff on Instagram right now for all that.
Nice.
Came out today. The new one. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
It's got a. I've not seen it in its entirety, but I've seen a lot of shots from it, and it's amazing work. Amazing.
Yeah.
And our friend Brian Caldwell.
Yes, Brian Caldwell worked on
He
it.
was an animator on it. Yeah.
Yeah, he was over in England.
Gotta get him on here sometime.
Yeah, we do.
I bet you would love to.
Oh, he would. Yeah, he'd be great. It's just, he's in London, so we just gotta figure out a time to do it. But yeah, no, he worked on the shot you can see in the trailer.
Which one?
When the T-Rex is when Chris Pratt's trying to get past the T-Rex and
he jumps through the mouth and kind of.
Yeah, jumps through. Yeah, he did that where he jumps through the mouth and all that.
That's Brian's shot.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
So
We'll have to see if we can figure out a time to get all the ETSU guys on one show.
Yeah.
And do a big round table discussion. And Katrin and I will just sit here and be like, go ahead.
we have a friend. Did you know Dan Cox? Dan Cox from Kingsport.
That name sounds familiar.
The name sounds familiar.
Or Jason Fleming. Jason Fleming, Dan Cox.
I knew Jason Stansel.
Yeah, Jason Stansel too. Dan Cox and Jason Fleming were both from Kingsport and did the ETSU thing. Jason's working at Blizzard Cinematics now.
Yeah.
Or Blizzard Animation. Mm-hmm. Dan was working there. Dan Cox went to ETSU, and then when he graduated, he came out here to San Francisco to work on his grad degree at the Academy of Art, and was sort of my gateway into moving out here after I finished ETSU. He was just like, oh, you're gonna love it. You should come out here. He's just like, ILM's here, Pixar's here. Some of the teachers have worked there, and he's like, why don't you come out and visit? And he's like, we get a place together and stuff. And we weren't super close at ETSU. We were just kind of more acquaintances. But ultimately, I made the decision to come out here to further my education and moved in with Dan and Jason Fleming also, and became really good friends with these guys. And it's been awesome watching, and you, Chris, watching where you've kind of hopscotched, get your foot in the door here and you're moving here. But anyways, long story short, Dan is working on the new Avatar movies with Weta, and he's really done really well. He's going to be a VFX soup on it, so
awesome.
Really proud of him.
Cool.
And excited to see the stuff that they're doing for it.
Cool.
Especially after just the Weta and their creature pipeline, like the Planet of the Apes, they're just insane. You just look at those things and you're just like, beautiful. What? and seeing how far they've kind of progressed since the very first Avatar, and just like I can't wait to see what that stuff's going to look like.
Yeah, I knew an animator that went over there to work on that, and she was like, tails. So many tails.
What are you talking about? That's all mocap.
The tails weren't.
I know. And I'm always an advocate for animators. I hate it when I hear it's just like, oh, performance captured everything. There was no animation on it. That is not true. Animators touch everything. Sometimes they have to start from scratch.
Sorry. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Animators touch everything. That's the title of this episode. No.
Hey,
So it's getting late. It's getting late. Sorry. Continue on. Ignore me.
Some of the things I've had to animate, man.
What do they do with those tails again?
I had to stare at Jamie Foxx's butt for like a day.
What was that for, Spider-Man?
No, that's just every day.
That was just
your background.
Yeah, he was just there. He would just walk around with his butt out. No, that was for a Django Unchained.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I didn't know you worked on that.
Just like a couple of things. I animated a whip
There's so much stuff I don't know about you.
And like a knife that cuts Jamie Foxx. I just they didn't have an actual knife there, so I just animated the knife going across.
Oh man, worked on a Quentin Tarantino film. That's
yeah, I know,
I've
but
got to go watch it now.
They won't accept me on IMDb because they don't want to admit that they had visual effects in there for some of the stuff.
Are you serious?
I only did it for like a week. I was like on the show for a week.
Still.
So but I think there was like a time frame you had to be on it in order to get in the credits for it.
Oh.
And
lame.
There's a couple of films I know as well that the directors have deals where you can't admit there's visual effects in their film because they're filmmakers that there's no visual effects in this film. There's a bear that ate our actor. That's what happened.
It really happened.
There's no visual effect in this film.
Yeah, so you're really admitting that you actually whipped this woman.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right.
Oh man.
Cool. I mean, I love. Sorry if I've rambled on,
No,
but yeah,
it's been great.
Talking about stuff.
It's been great.
It's always great to hear you're very passionate about your work, and it's always good and just kind of uplifting to hear you talk about your work and everything. I've always enjoyed that about you.
Aww.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I've always admired the people that just keep that fire alive as long as they can. You know, like Kevin Smith's like one of those guys. I listen to a lot of his podcasts, and he's just filled with that energy of just you know. We're working on comic book movies. You know, we're working on Star Wars movies. We're not shoveling fish. You know, it's like
we had one of his guys on a couple weeks ago.
Chin.
Yeah,
Ming
Chen was on.
You had Ming Chen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
we saw him at Comic Palooza, and he saw it. We were wearing our T-shirts, and he's like, he's walking with his entourage. Well, I was like, "Hey, Ming," because I watched Comic Book Man because I'm a geek. Anyways, I was like, "Hey, Ming," and he walked over and he goes, "You have podcasts?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, how did you know? You just guessing? He goes, "Come on, let's go record." So we just walked over, sat down at a table, and just recorded an episode with him.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was cool.
Awesome.
He was a cool guy. But yeah.
Oh yeah, super nice.
Super nice. Anyways, well, the only thing I didn't get to that I was going to ask everybody's opinion about the $71.3 billion Disney Fox deal that just went down. But
yeah, I have mixed feelings about that.
yeah,
yeah, we'll see. I mean, like if you own everything, then your movies are going to they're going to cannibalize the profits of your movies. And that's something I seriously think Solo was hurt by. Was movies are expensive to go to. They're very expensive to go to. If you have families, they're insanely expensive to take the family out, buy all the tickets, you get the popcorn, all that stuff. Like it's a lot of money. Like 4 weeks prior, Infinity War came out, and that had a lot of repeat business.
Yeah.
And then after that, Deadpool came out, which also had repeat business. And then Solo hits. Like people only have budgets that are so, it's like Solo's going to be out a while. We don't have to see it this opening weekend. You know, it's just like we can't go back to the movie theater. I just think that's just eating into the box office of things.
Yeah.
It's probably, I'm sure it's there's a lot to it than just that, but that at work, talking with guys at lunch and stuff, I was just like, that's a big deal. So
yeah. I have to admit that I am excited to hopefully see like the X-Men and Fantastic Four.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you, dude. I'm right there with you.
All that get together. Like I was just like, oh, I want to see that.
They could have just bought that part of it. Just said, we're just going to buy the X-Men and Fantastic Four, and stuff,
But-
and keep the rest.
But hey, I can say I've worked on a Disney movie now because they own Book of Life now.
So I know they counterbid Comcast. Is it
it's not-
in it now, or is Comcast have an opportunity to come?
They
Comcast.
probably have. Yeah.
Fox says nix to Comcast. They said no to their bid.
So Disney got it.
Yeah,
Disney got it.
They accepted it, I think.
They said no to Comcast, and Disney put in more money, and all the people at Disney World are looking at their paychecks going, oh, look at my paycheck. You just spent billions of dollars on Fox.
Technically, I'm an employee of Disney.
Yeah,
That is true.
Yeah.
that's true.
So now you're like, oh, it's a great deal. I love it.
More movies to make. Anyways, so yeah, but we'll see how it turns out. But because the thing that cracks me up is we could do a whole nother episode on this, is that now Universal Studios in Orlando and Hollywood, they have X-Men there, Marvel there, the Simpsons there.
Yeah.
Everything is all owned by
Despicable
Disney.
Me. Yeah.
Which I just think is funny. I think it's hilarious. So, anyways, Disney's
And
going to own everything.
The Simpsons predicted it once again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a gag where you saw Fox.
They know. They know it all. Well, Adam, thank you for being on. Welcome anytime. Well, if you want to come back.
Thank you for having me. This was like super fun.
Right.
Again, I love just talking about all of this stuff. And
Come back on sometime and we'll just talk about geek stuff. We won't even have to make you tell your life story anymore.
Yeah, we didn't even get into like Clone Wars and Rebels.
Oh, I love Rebels. I haven't watched the last season yet though, so because I didn't have XD.
You didn't see that.
I haven't seen it yet.
You have such a Star Wars Christmas gift like waiting for you.
Wait.
In that last
when
season.
It hits Blu-ray, I'm getting it.
It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff.
Oh man,
Dave Filoni. I'm a huge fan of Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
I'm excited.
Anyways, so which made me love seeing Darth Maul in Solo. Loved it.
Yeah.
I hope we see more of him sometime. Anyways, other news out there just before we leave. Halloween Horror Nights. You know I'm a big fan. Katrin's probably going with me. Chris loves it too. They announced more of their houses for this year. Another 80s theme. So it looks like everything's going to be 80s themed, which is going to be rad. I guess I could use that word for it.
Radical.
It's going to be radical.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. If you're going to be in Orlando in the month of late September, October, go to Halloween Horror Nights if you like anything 80s. They're going to have Stranger Things. They're going to have a new house this announces all like B horror movies from the 80s. Like they've made up.
Is it the same in Los Angeles as well?
No,
they're not doing it there.
No.
They may have Stranger Things. I'm not sure, but they're not doing the whole total. It's all 80s themed, which is going to be if you go on their website, they're advertising them all with VHS covers. It's amazing.
Genius.
Yes.
Genius.
So go check it out. Our friends over at Scare Zone Podcast, they have all the latest breaking news on it. Sure, they're our friends. Why not? I talk to the guy every once in a while. Anyways, he may be on next week.
There we go.
Be on next week. Anyways, so Adam, thank you so much. It's been a blast.
Thank you. Thanks.
We'll see if you can beat those Lucas the Spider numbers that we have. So we'll share like crazy. And with that, this has been episode 61 of I Am Geek, and we will catch you next week. Goodbye, everybody. Good night.